As you may know, the month of May has been declared Africa Month, and to celebrate the founding of the Organization of Africa Unity on the 25th of May 1963. It was on this date, the 25th of May, it was declared as Africa Day, as a symbol of unity amongst all Africans. As part of activities to commemorate the day, the African Union Youth Chapter is currently being held at the University of the Witwatersrand. The Youth Chapter brings together leading academics, youth leaders and student leaders representing a number of universities across the country. They will address and engage young people on what needs to be done to bring young people closer to dialogues that set the agenda for the continent. To tell us more, we're joined in studio now by TT Nzimande, who is the chairperson of the African Union Youth Chapter. Good to have you in studio. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
This is really lovely, and it's nice to hear that the youth is so passionate about things like this and keeping the vision of the African Union and what it stands for alive. So let's talk about the African Union Youth Chapter that's being hosted. What is it all about?
So basically, this month, being Africa Month, in celebration of the 25th of May, we, as students at university or at the Wits University, we then put together a program to celebrate over this week. So basically, we are a group of students who have dedicated themselves to celebrate the achievements, and also not just the achievements, but also look at what is lacking within the continent and then put the voice of young people on the table, because it's important that within the continent as well, as we try and find solutions that are unique to our problems, we bring the youth involved, because within the youth there is innovation and there's also a lot of ideas that can take the continent forward. So this is our opportunity as young people to gather together and have intergenerational dialogues with experts, with politicians, with academics, and try and find solutions to issues that are currently facing our continent. But also, most importantly, we have to celebrate the strides and where we come from as a continent. So that's basically our role within the university environment, is to try and bring these issues onto the table and make our voice heard as young people.
I like one of the themes and one of the conversations that are going to be focusing in on modern Africa. I would love you to define modern Africa to me.
You see, when we talk about the continent of Africa, and you look at how a lot of people view the continent of Africa, the images that are used to define Africa and so on. So you find that it's mostly images that are not from Africa or Africans. So then our role as young people and also as African is to take the narrative and own it and define Africa for ourselves. Basically, what we also will be discussing is how do we define Africa in the fourth industrial revolution. We don't want to be left behind as young people. And very interestingly, I think this is one of the ideas that Dlamini Zuma had, because she started this whole project of having small branches within every university, so that the mother body, the African Union, can have access to young people. So her idea then was to say, yes, we are the leaders, the political leaders within the continent, but we are in our 50s, in our 60s, in our 70s. We don't have maybe some of the ideas that are vibrant and innovative. So let's bring in young people and hear what they say about their future and the future of the continent.
Which is it's so vital and so important to get these young, new ideas, because Africa comes from, many African countries come from very hard backgrounds and are still trying to battle with that baggage that they carry along, and the youth adopt this. But at the same time, there's a new generation coming through that have gotten brilliant educations, that are so vibrant and energetic and technological, because this is what is needed, is to pull this continent forward, are these new bright ideas. So what are the kind of conversations you have as the youth? I mean, what are some ideas that can come up to try and help the continent?
I think, firstly, I must mention that the African Union has declared 2018 as the year of anti-corruption in Africa. And that's what we opened with yesterday, where we had the public protector, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane. We had a beautiful conversation conversation with her where she was explaining what is our role as young people in curbing corruption in all our systems, be it private or public, in the continent. So today we continue, we speak about, foreign policy and what our role is and where we see ourselves as young people in terms of relating to other Africans across our borders. I mean, we've had instances of xenophobia and xenophobic attacks. So how do we then become proactive as young people and say, let's build relationships and so on? So some of our discussions will be touching on that. China's surging interest in the continent of Africa. How do we as young people, do we see it as a partnership with China, or do we see it as yet another form of imperialism? We also, interestingly enough, your previous segment, we also speak on the issue of land redistribution in post-colonial Africa, where we have people like Andile Mqitama from BLF who will be leading those conversations. We also have Thando Xolo, who is the secretary of the ANC Youth League in KZN. He's going to be coming and sharing his views on that topic as well. Also, I must mention that we do also have a discussion that will focus on the free trade agreement and how it will impact young people in the continent. How do I, as a young people in Joburg, who is a clothing designer, make sure that I find it easier to sell my clothing in Rwanda, in Ghana, and I find my brand being bought and shared in Tunisia and so on.
That's
so
wonderful.
Those are the conversations that we'll be having.
You talk about other African countries. Do you have representatives from other African countries here as well?
So yes, we do. So within the universities that are coming through, we've got Monash, South Africa, who's coming through. We've got Northwest University for the Mafikeng campus. They also will be attending University of Pretoria, UNISA, and of course UJ is also coming through. So within our panelists, we also have people like Professor Kadiagala from Wits. We have Professor Dr. Norman Sempija. We also have Professor Adieke Adebajo from UJ. So we have basically, conversations with people from within the country and also from outside the country.
Fantastic. Well, listen, good luck. I hope it goes exceptionally well. A start of Africa Month. It's leading up to the culmination on the 25th of May, which of course is Africa Day, and that's that day that the Organization of African Unity was founded, but the whole month dedicated to issues surrounding Africa and the youth participating, and this particularly happening at Wits University, this lovely youth talk, which I think is fantastic. I really do. And we just have to mention this year's Africa Month theme. And I mean, it's no surprise that this Africa Month dedicated to the legacy of Nelson Mandela. It's called the Year of Nelson Mandela, Building a Better Africa and a Better World. How is the African Union youth also adapting to that? And I think we heard a bit of that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
TT Nzimande is the chairperson of the African Union Youth Chapter.